Imagine this, you're stuck in traffic, running late and someone just cut you off. Your fists clench, your jaw tightens, but what if instead of exploding, you stayed calm? What if anger had no power over you? Sounds impossible. Let's talk about how you can actually make that a reality. We all face moments that test our patience, whether it's a rude coworker, a stubborn sibling, or life just not going our way. Anger is a natural emotion, but letting it control us can damage our relationships, health and peace of mind. The good news, you can train yourself to stay calm even in the most frustrating situations. Here's how. Anger is an emotion that often shows up suddenly, but beneath its surface lies a complex web of deeper feelings. When someone gets angry, it's rarely about just that moment. Instead, anger usually stems from a deeper root: fear, frustration, hurt, or feeling powerless. For example, when someone feels disrespected, they might react with anger because it threatens their sense of self-worth. When plans fall apart or expectations aren't met, anger may arise from the fear of losing control. It's important to understand that anger is usually not the core emotion, it's a response to something else going on beneath the surface. By learning to recognize what triggers your anger, you begin to gain insight into your own emotional patterns. Maybe it's a tone of voice, a specific type of situation, or a sense of being judged. When you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Is it embarrassment? Is it fear that I'm not being heard or taken seriously? Often what we interpret as anger is actually our defense mechanism kicking in to protect our ego from vulnerability. This awareness is a powerful step toward emotional control. Understanding the root of your anger doesn't just help you stay calm, it helps you respond more effectively. Instead of yelling or shutting down, you begin to address the real issue. Maybe that means having a conversation about feeling undervalued rather than snapping over a small mistake. It could mean recognizing your own stress levels before they boil over. When you understand what fuels your anger, you're no longer at its mercy, you can choose to respond rather than explode. It's about taking ownership of your emotional world and not letting momentary triggers dictate your behavior. The power of the pause is one of the most underrated yet effective tools in managing anger. When something triggers you, be it a comment, a situation, or even just a thought, your body immediately prepares for a reaction. Your heart rate increases, your breathing gets shallow and your muscles tense. In that moment, your brain shifts into fight or flight mode, and that's when anger can take over. But if you can pause, even for just a few seconds, you create space between the stimulus and your response. And in that space lies your ability to choose how you want to react. Pausing doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending that nothing's wrong. It means recognizing that you're getting heated and deciding not to act impulsively. This pause could be as simple as taking a deep breath, counting slowly to 5, or walking away from the ah. These small actions might seem insignificant, but they interrupt the automatic cycle of anger and allow your rational mind to catch up with your emotions. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You start to notice the early signs of anger: clenched jaw, your raised voice, your racing thoughts. And instead of being swept up in them, you pause, you check in with yourself, you let the emotion move through you without letting it control. In this way, the pause becomes a form of emotional intelligence in action. It's the difference between reacting out of habit and responding with intention. Over time, this habit builds emotional strength and reduces the intensity of your anger. You become more grounded, more in control, and better able to handle difficult situations without losing your cool. The pause is simple, but it's powerful. It puts you back in charge. Perspective shapes our emotional world more than we realize. Two people can experience the exact same situation and walk away feeling completely different, simply because of how they interpreted it. This is the power of perception. And when it comes to anger, it can either fuel the fire or extinguish it. Shifting your perspective means consciously choosing to see a situation from a different angle, one that leads to understanding, not outrage. It doesn't mean ignoring bad behavior or denying your emotions, but it means choosing a response that serves your peace rather than your ego. Let's say someone cuts you off in traffic, your first instinct might be to assume they're reckless or inconsiderate. But what if they're rushing to the hospital or just made a genuine mistake? The situation hasn't changed. but your perspective has… and with it your emotional response. The more you practice looking at things with curiosity rather than judgment, the less power anger holds over you. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with awareness. The next time you feel that familiar surge of attention, ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? Could there be something I'm not seeing? What would I feel if I were in their shoes? Changing your perspective also helps you take things less personally. Not every rude comment is an attack. Not every inconvenience is a disaster. Life is full of imperfect moments and imperfect people, including ourselves. When you accept that, you begin to let go of the expectation that everything should go your way. You stop reacting to every disruption as a personal offense. You start to respond with understanding, with patience and sometimes even with humor. And with that, anger starts to lose its grip, not because the world changed, but because your view of it did. Emotional resilience is the inner strength that allows you to face challenges, stress and negative emotions without being overwhelmed by them. When it comes to anger, building emotional resilience is like strengthening your mental immune system. It doesn't mean you never get upset, but it means you're better equipped to deal with those emotions without letting them control you. One of the most powerful ways to build this resilience is by developing a daily practice of mindfulness. When you regularly check in with your thoughts and feelings, you become more aware of your emotional triggers before they explode into full-blown anger. Journaling is another tool that helps you process your emotions in a healthy way. Writing down what you're feeling, what triggered you and how you responded, you begin to notice patterns. You might realize that you tend to get angry when you're tired, hungry or under pressure. With this awareness, you can make small changes that prevent anger from bubbling up in the first place. Meditation also plays a powerful role. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day of quiet breathing or guided reflection can create a buffer between you and your emotional reactions. It trains your mind to observe rather than react, to respond instead of explode. Building emotional resilience also means taking care of your body. When you're sleep-deprived, over-caffeinated or constantly stressed, your fuse becomes shorter. But when you prioritize rest, hydration, movement and a balanced lifestyle, you feel more balanced mentally and emotionally. Over time, these habits become your emotional foundation. You don't have to rely on willpower alone to stay calm. You've trained your mind and body to stay grounded. And when life inevitably tests your patience, you're ready not with anger, but with strength and stability. The difference between reacting and responding can completely transform the way you handle anger. Reacting is immediate, impulsive and emotional. So when you lash out, slam a door, raise your voice or say something you later regret, it's your emotions driving the car while your reasoning takes the back seat. Responding, on the other hand, is thoughtful, calm and intentional. It's when you take a moment, consider your words and choose a response that aligns with who you want to be. That's how you feel in that split second. Learning to respond instead of react doesn't mean bottling up your emotions. It means giving yourself the power to express them in a way that leads to resolution instead of regret. When you respond, you're not ignoring your anger, you're mastering it. You're using emotional awareness to guide your behavior rather than letting the emotion take control. It starts with a pause, a breath or a simple decision to wait before you speak. In that space, you give yourself time to think clearly. What outcome do you want from this situation? Will raising your voice get you closer to it? You're further away. The more you practice this kind of thinking, the more natural it becomes. Your brain begins to rewire, creating a new habit of calm reflection instead of instant outburst. Over time, responding instead of reacting builds relationship. People begin to see you as composed, reliable and emotionally intelligent. You become the person who can stay steady even when things get chaotic, and you feel better too, because you're no longer a prisoner to your anger. You're making choices that reflect your values, not just your moods. It's not about perfection but progress. Every moment you choose to respond with clarity instead of reacting with heat, you gain back your power. Now that you know the tools, it's time to use them. Don't just listen, practice. So the next time you feel that spark of anger, pause, breathe, question it. Shift your perspective, respond with purpose, choose growth over reaction. You won't master it overnight, but every calm choice you make is a step toward freedom from anger. Start today. Be the person who controls their emotions, not the one controlled by them. Peace isn't a gift, it's a habit, and it begins with